befitting to talk about ketogenic diet after a talk on epilepsy and cardiovascular diseases. As most of you all know about ketogenic diet, just for a small introduction, there is no one standard ketogenic diet. That is, you are just going to alter the ratio of macronutrients, and typically the diet should contain less than 50 grams of fat a day and can go as low as 20 grams of fat. And this is a basic ratio: 70 to 80% fat, daily calories, and 5 to 10% carbohydrate, 10 to 20% protein. And on a typical 2000 calorie diet, this is how it translates: 165 grams of fat, 40 grams of carbs, and 75 grams of protein. And the reason why we keep as we call adequate or moderate is, if a person is taking too much of protein along with a low carbohydrate diet, it can prevent ketosis. So ketosis is the main idea over here. And since we have so many neurologists over here and so many learned people over here, all of you all probably know that it's Russell Wilder who was the first person who started using a ketogenic diet to treat epilepsy way back in 1921. And he was the person who coined that particular name. And it was used as a therapeutic diet for pediatric epilepsy until anti-epileptic agents were found and the need was lesser. Again, in 1990s, there was a re-emergence because of drug-resistant epilepsy. And also it has received so much of interest, mainly in obesity, followed by type 2 diabetes, cancer, intestinal disorders, and so many other things. In fact, even COVID-19. And so how it acts, again, this is very basic, but still for us to move forward, if the body is going to be deprived of carbohydrates, the glycogen stores will be depleted in no matter of time. And it's going to be gluconeogenesis and ketogenesis. We are looking for ketogenesis, and gluconeogenesis is also important because there are certain organs like the inner medulla of the kidney and the RBC which need glucose. They can't do without glucose. And thankfully, the brain can use ketone bodies. So that is the main idea for treatment in drug-resistant epilepsy. Usually for healthy individuals, most people, there will be mild ketosis during periods of fasting, especially overnight fasting or whatever, and very strenuous exercise. And dietary ketosis is totally different from ketoacidosis. Ketoacidosis is when you have supernormal levels of ketones, which can be harmful, changing the acid-base balance. But in dietary ketosis, because we are keeping the carbs at 50 to 20 grams, and we are watching, dietary ketosis is not so dangerous. You can manage, but anyway, it needs a lot of supervision. So, but anyway, how soon the ketosis happens and the number of ketone bodies that accumulate in the blood is very individual, depends upon each person. And this is a classic 4 types of ketogenic diet. The classic long chain triglyceride ketogenic diet, which is used especially in hospitals. But now what we have found is the MCT, or the medium chain triglyceride, and the modified Atkins diet seems to work very well. In modified Atkins diet, we will reduce the carbohydrate much below, even below 20 to as in 10 grams. And you're not going to make a very steep reducing in protein also. Keep the protein at 30%. It works very well. And the low glycemic index treatment also. And today add-ons are, there are so many types of the ketogenic diet. The cyclical one, where for 5 days you go on a low carb diet and 2 days high carbohydrate diet, targeted ketogenic diet, high protein ketogenic diet. All this is mainly for people who are training and who are going for any kind of sport events and so on and so forth. There are so many, I couldn't bring all of them. But today what is trending is the lazy keto diet, where people design themselves what to do. It's just that they keep the carbohydrates less. It's far safer than any other diet, I think, anyway. So what is the role of ketogenic diet in disease management? Type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, it works very well. The main thing is it guarantees a basic supply of nutrients, and there is less fluctuation and reduction of insulin secretion, which seems to be the main problem in type 2 diabetes. It's working very well. Only thing is, you have to be careful about the kind of drugs that you use. Certain drugs or insulin that you give, you have to match it properly. Otherwise, there could be problems over there. So a lot of learning and a lot of teaching is very important to the patient, and it has to be monitored. Otherwise, it works very well. Obesity is the thing that brought this ketogenic diet to the common man, actually. It works beautifully for them. And again, the designing of the diet depends upon, it's not the classical ketogenic diet that they use. You can just work out according to the patient. And the way the mechanisms proposed for the weight loss are reduced appetite. Why there is reduced appetite is the reason being ketone bodies automatically reduce the appetite. Not only that, they have an impact on all the ghrelin, leptin, and other hormones, or hunger hormones, which work very well and keep the appetite down. And there is reduced lipogenesis, so that's mainly because of the improved insulin resistance. And this gluconeogenesis, which is so important, is a very, very energy intensive process. That is to make glucose from glucogenic amino acids or from fat or whatever. Actually, they use a lot of energy. So that could also go a long way in bringing about the weight loss. And the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which seems to be threatening most of our youngsters, is what doctor was talking about. 20 to 40 years is a age where we don't think mainly about cardiovascular health, or you don't even think about heart attack or any kind of diseases for the matter, especially 2025. But that is not the case. We are seeing a huge increase in NAFLD. The reason being very sedentary and not doing any exercise and eating a lot of junk food could be one reason, main reason actually. So this high fat and low carb diet seems to work well, mainly because the insulin levels come down. There is an increase in fat oxidation, so mobilizing the fat from the liver, and there is less lipids being made. And of course, oxidative stress, which is the main reason for NAFLD, is also down. PCOS, again, this is another syndrome which threatens our young children, especially girls. As I work in a college, there are so many times girls come up and say that it's PCOS, we have an issue, and so many things are there. So this ketogenic diet seems to work very well for them. I have not gone into all the mechanisms. The main mechanism is again the insulin resistance, which is brought down in PCOS. Neurodegenerative diseases, I don't know, to a big population sitting over here, neurologists, whether I should be talking, but anyway, I've just picked out the diseases alone. Alzheimer's, maybe because of reduced accumulation of amyloid plaques. Parkinson's disease, maintaining the mitochondrial homeostasis. And ALS. ALS, what I read so many articles which said that the quality of their life improved, especially when they know that the disease is there. And it is like an adjunct therapy or alternative therapy. This ketogenic diet works very well for them. It brings down a lot of oxidative stress in spinal cord injury. And epilepsy, again, that's the main thing actually. There are so many mechanisms. Glucose not being available for the excitation of the neurons, the role of neurotransmitters, brain energy, metabolism, ion channels, and so on, which is very much, but this has to be done only under the supervision of a neurologist. It can't be done as a OPE procedure. I always tell my students when they are ready to go for practice and after 4 or 5 years of training in many hospitals, that to be very careful when they are actually practicing ketogenic diets. Again, cancer. We all know that the tumor cells use glucose as a primary energy source. So if fat is going to be increased and carbohydrate is reduced, it can hit the cancer cells. But again, it depends upon the cancer type, the subtype, and the genetic features. And others, cardiovascular health. Surprisingly, when you talk about a high fat, the first thing that comes to your mind is the cholesterol is going to pick up and so many things like that. But actually, it seems to work very well for cardiovascular health. Again, all these studies that have been done are only short term. We are waiting. We need long-term studies to find out whether in the long run it is going to produce the benefit that it has produced in the short-term thing. And COVID-19. COVID-19, again, Dr. Prabhakar was talking about comorbidities. COVID-19, we have been through that, and isolation, not moving anywhere, being so sedentary, one thing. So comorbidities can increase. So this ketogenic diet seemed to work well for them as an adjunct therapy during the time when they were isolated, and IBD and IBS also. And what are the foods to be eliminated? All things nice, all things tasty, like soda, fruit juice, all sugary fruits. Absolutely no starches or grains at all. And no fruits also, except small portions of berries like strawberries, of course, avocados, that I missed it over here, beans, legumes, kidney beans, lentils, chickpeas. Root vegetables are definitely not in. Actually, if you look at this particular slide, especially the last three ones like the fruit, beans, and root vegetables, it's in tandem with what we have been talking. Take a healthy diet, but that is how it works for the ketogenic diet. Then you have the low fat especially low fat products should not be taken. Sauces, unhealthy fats. So if it is a high fat diet, doesn't mean we can have all those vadas and samosas and bhajis. It doesn't figure daily in the diet. It is still processed. So avoid all those things. Of course, alcohol and all sugar-free diet foods also, because you don't know, you might be having some kind of fructose in that. So what can you eat? All kinds of meat, the fatty fish like salmon. We do get salmon now in India, and especially in Chennai. Trout is supposed to be the குளத்து மீன் சொல்லுவோம், ஆத்து மீன் சொல்லுவோம். That it is that. And tuna is supposed to be surai mean, and mackerel is supposed to be the kanangelati. Eggs is free for all. You can even go up to 3-4 eggs also per day. Butter and cream, cheese also can be had, and mainly cottage cheese, which is equivalent to the paneer that we get in the market, which all of us, I think, at some point of time, we use it in our cooking also. It's become a regular part of our diet. And nuts and seeds, you can have almonds, walnuts. Of course, peanuts are not here because the reason is peanuts do contain a little bit of carbohydrate. But still, if you're able to work the 20-40 grams, it's fine. And healthy oils will be extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil. It's okay if it is not available. You can use our desi nalanai and our peanut oil in a kind of measured amounts. Avocados, definitely yes. And low carb veggies are all greens, tomatoes, onions, peppers, spinach, cucumber, mushroom, most of the tasty vegetables. Condiments, there is no problem. Salt, pepper, herbs, and spices. So keto recipes. If you just go hit the Google or the Amazon, you will see there are so many foods, ready-made foods available. So much so that yesterday when I was seeing, I saw that there were mixture and so many foods. And there is low carb atta. It is not atta. It is made from coconut flour and almond flour mixed together. You have noodles, like you have the zucchini, which is pressed into a noodle form and sold in the market. You get a lot of products, and there is a huge market for them. Reading labels are important. Whenever you're cooking something which is not in your kitchen and you are sourcing it from somewhere, it's better to read the labels, because you don't know what you're letting yourself do. And it is always better to design your diet with available food. So there are lots of things. So I just thought I will. Even cakes are like, normally cakes, what comes to your mind, it's the sugar and the flour. Flour can be replaced with almond flour. Butter is, there is no problem. You get unsweetened cocoa in the market. And I thought I'll bring these two things, especially the monk fruit sweetener, which is trending a lot. It's actually made from, it is a kind of a plant which is native to China. It's a low calorie natural sweetener. It's more than 300 times sweeter than sucrose. So most people who want to eat some sweets during the ketogenic diet do use this. So is it FSSAI approved? It's not yet, but US, Asia, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they are using. And the Europe is still pending over here. But having said that, the monk fruit sweetener is available in India, but you'll have to wait for the FSSAI to give their go ahead. I just thought it's something new that I will bring over here. So this is actually, it looks very tasty. The almond flour pancakes. This is the tofu masala, which is the soybean paneer. Then you have the paneer tikka. And if you're really creative, you can do a lot of things. This, on the left side, you have the you have omelette stuffed with mushrooms, so with a lot of parsley and coriander. And one thing, if you open the net, you will see that keto recipe cauliflower rice. So cauliflower rice is nothing but you buy the cauliflower, you de-leaf it, take off all the leaves, then you put a box grater and grate it, and this is how it looks. That can be used for anything. You can make upma, you can make poha, you can add your vegetables, you can add your egg. So I just thought this is quite interesting, and I brought this recipe over here, which is a stuffed capsicum. So what's the downside of ketogenic diet? It's challenging to maintain social isolation. You can't go somewhere and you cannot ask for something. When you're a group, you have to follow a group behavior. So there could be social isolation, disordered eating. It is not sustainable. Definitely not sustainable. That's why we don't have a lot of studies also. And if you're going to restrict fresh fruits and vegetables, it can have an impact on the overall health over there. And adverse effects are increased risk of kidney stones, because there are no fruits at all and you're restricting the vegetables. The urinary citrate levels do go down. Osteoporosis, obviously, you're going to cut back on milk, it's going to be a problem. Uric acid levels may also increase over there. And nutrient deficiencies, increased risk of heart disease. And it is not safe for many people who have issues with the pancreas, liver, thyroid, or gallbladder. Initial days of the keto diet can cause a keto flu, where there is a upset tummy, dizziness, decreased energy, mood swings, and things like that. But once the ketosis kicks in, it should be all right. So, what's the future for ketogenic diet? Lack of sufficient clinical evidence because we don't have any long-term studies. Most of them have been on a small number of participants, although we have quite a number of studies. For weight loss, what the Harvard studies they mention is that it did not have control groups, and also uh, it shows short-term benefits. Weight loss, it's amazing weight loss that we see, and improvements in total cholesterol, blood sugar, and blood pressure also. But anyway, long-term studies and RCT are warranted. So I wish to conclude by telling there is no single magic food or diet that works for everyone. Finding out what works by consulting the dietitian and the family doctor is important, and safety is the first priority. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful lecture. You have covered every aspect of ketogenic